Hi there, this is Michael, and you are one of my TOEFL writing boot camp students. So you completed an essay yesterday, you sent it to me, I read it, and based on what I'm looking at here, I decided to give you a 3.75 out of 5, 24 points out of 30 on this. So I'm looking at the rubrics right here. I think for the most part, you have a good, strong organization with supporting detail. You have some problems with either word choice or sentence formation, maybe limited range of sentence structures. So I'm going to go through with the essay, and I'm going to show you some things that you can do to improve your writing, right? And I'm going to take inventory as I make corrections. I will take some inventory I'll write down some of the problems you're having. So let's start off. So first of all, you're 413 words in 2 paragraphs. That means that these 2 paragraphs are very, very developed. So that's excellent on your part. So let's look at the introduction. So universities have great effect on one's future. So you need the apostrophe here. Especially, you say for students in young age, I would just say especially for young students. And maybe you have also in any period students. Let me write these things down. So this is subject-verb agreement. So students are considerably affected by their friends. I'm just adding a few things in here. Part of your problem here is sometimes you're using a lot of shorter type sentences. This is why I threw this one in there. So I'm giving you a longer sentence here. Notice this particular sentence, it's about 31 words, which is a lot longer than a lot of yours. So you want to show that you're using a combination of longer and shorter sentences. So let's read it. Also, in any period, students are considerably affected by their friends, so they should surround themselves with people who will positively affect them, thereby helping how about these university attendees to maximize their educational experience. Let's get rid of, there are several types here. Let's say friends who are kind, energetic, and peaceful, for example, so friends who are kind, energetic, and peaceful, for example, will have a positive effect. We'll have positive effects on students. The characteristics of roommates whom students live with is one of the significantly we'll say one of the most important factors for students, and we'll reduce that adjective clause there. Living in, we have students as plural, right? So let's make everything plural. So the characteristic of roommates whom students live with is one of the most important factors for students living in dormitories or apartments. In my opinion, for students, a sense of, I'm going to say a sense of cleanliness and quietness are important qualities of a good roommate. So I'm going to say something like this. So I think I have the changes I wanted to make in the introduction here. So yeah, now we're about 114 words. Usually around 100 words is pretty good. So let's look at the introduction one more time. So universities have great effects on one's future, especially for young students. Also, in any period, students are considerably affected by their friends, so they should surround themselves with people who will positively affect them, thereby helping these university attendees to maximize their educational experience. Friends who are kind, energetic, and peaceful, for example, will have positive effects on how about just say others? You don't repeat students too much. The characteristic of roommates whom students live with is one of the most important factors for students. Let's look at this. Let's take the word. We have to make this a little more, I need to make this a little more concise. So the characteristic of roommates whom students live with in dormitories or apartments is one of the most important factors How about university success? Okay, in my opinion, for students, a sense of cleanliness and quietness are important qualities of a good roommate. Students with these two qualities will make it easy. Don't really need the word very here, do we? Will make it easy for others to live with them. All right, so I think we have the introduction set, and you have a good thesis. Okay, I'm going to take this, I'm going to work on your topic sentence slightly. You put a clean room enables students to focus on their studies, which is more factual. Then you say to keep the room clean, a sense of cleanliness is an important factor for a roommate. So how about this? Let's just take this idea and I'm going to combine that with the topic sentence that you have. Your topic sentence is a little more factual, but it becomes more purposeful, more arguable after that. But let's kind of switch it. Because remember that the first couple of lines of the paragraph kind of sets the tone. So an important attribute of a good roommate is cleanliness. How about, and then we'll take this here. An important attribute of a good roommate is cleanliness, which enables students to focus on their studies. Because you have there as plural, let's make this plural. So be careful with your plural, your singular versus your plural nouns. Okay. How about this? Let's throw in a transition word in here to illustrate. When I was a freshman in a university, I lived with roommate Hiroshi, who's in the same English class. He always preferred a clean room because his parents... Yeah, I'm going to keep all of these things in the past here. I know you're saying there's still teachers now, but you're kind of talking about things in the past here, so I'm going to keep it all consistent. So he always preferred a clean room because his parents were both teachers in a high school. And his parents, I'm going to put had always, had wanted him to keep his room clean since he was a child. So you're using since, right? So you got two choices here, either the present or the past perfect. So because you're talking about something in the past and then his parents had wanted him to keep the room clean before that time, up until that time, I'm going to use the past perfect there. So, and his parents had wanted him to keep his room clean since he was a child. As a roommate, he sometimes brought his friends to our room to have a party. I'm going to put for here. For our English class unofficial event, and some of the members made our room disturbed. Okay, let's take a look at this. You said some of the members made a room disturbed by leaving. How about their plates, utensils, Yeah, made the room disturbed is not very specific, so we need to be a little bit more specific. So, and some of the members left their plates, utensils, and napkins on the coffee table and floor. Okay, I think we have it here. So we have hence leaving or living space in disarray. However, after the event, even I'm going to put here, let's put even though, I think, because even if I said even Tom is going to the party, you're using that as an adverb to show unexpected result, but you're not introducing what's called a dependent clause. In this case, you have, however, after the event, even though the event was finished in the middle of the night, he soon cleaned the room the next morning. I don't think you need that preposition. With his cleanliness, I was able to focus with his cleanliness. So with his cleanliness, not having been distracted by any inconsiderate messes, I think I want to say inconsiderate, sorry. With his cleanliness, not having been distracted by any inconsiderate messes in our coming living spaces, I was able to focus on my studies all the time. And let's throw a cause-effect transition word in there. Let's just get rid of this. We'll start off. So I'm trying to give you some sentence variety. You have a lot of similar type sentences, subject, verb, and your sentences tend to be a little bit short. So you need to work on, I'm going to say between 20 and 30 words is probably a pretty good sentence length for academic writing. And then every now and then you'll have a sentence anywhere from 10 to 20 words. For example, this one, this is probably about 20 words here. Let me show you. 31 right there, right? So not having been distracted by any inconsiderate messes in our common living spaces, I was able to focus on my studies all the time. And therefore, I always got high grades. Let's take a look at the next paragraph here. So we have, if you say first of all here, you have to say second of all here. Or you could say first and then second, or you could say firstly and then secondly. So keep these transition words parallel from one paragraph to the next. Okay, you say second of all, quietness is also one of the important elements for university students because, let's give you a little bit more formal word, in as much as loud roommates may disturb. You have students. We want an apostrophe there. Student study circumstances. And let's take the word even. I'm going to put the adverb and they, how about may even disturb people living near, how about in other rooms? So I think you want to say, and they may even disturb people living near in other rooms. About living nearby in other rooms. How about this? For instance, I added one in the previous paragraph too. You remember that, where I put in the to illustrate? So I think that's one thing you can work on, is make sure, especially when you introduce a more specific idea there, consider using some type of transition word that can signal that specific idea. For instance, when I was a senior, and we have to fix this, when I was in my senior year, how about as a university student, my roommate Takeshi, and I'm going to change this to past. This is the second time you've had problems with this. So what is the past perfect tense? Go to Google. Here it is, the past perfect tense in English grammar. So to me, it's all about sequencing the order of actions in the past. So in this case, my roommate was truly a loud person, and he had joined the baseball team before you met him, I'm guessing, was truly a loud person. One day, we started to watch a baseball game. We enjoyed the game for a while. Now, you can have subject, verb there. We want to combine these. So one day, after we started to watch a baseball game, so after we started to watch a baseball game, after we enjoyed the game for a while, how about this? After we started to watch a baseball game, after we enjoyed the game for a while, but the game was getting interesting because it was a seesaw game. So you're trying to say that it was a very close game and that maybe the one team was winning, but then the next team started to win and it was kind of going back and forth, right? How about an evenly Okay, let's stop this sentence there. You might want to say, in fact, might say, in fact, several times over 4 innings. Okay, what I'm doing is I'm trying to explain the seesaw thing. I think you needed to explain that a little bit more here. You have to put, one day after we started to watch a baseball game, and after we enjoyed the game for a while, the game was getting interesting because it was evenly matched. Let's just put evenly matched because we already said baseball game before. You might want to say, in fact, the score changed several times over 4 innings. How about as a result? Takeshi became how about we don't just say started here. He started to shout with his loud voice in an effort to encourage toward victory. Since he was so excited, but since he was so excited and since his voice was tremendously huge, people near our room how about people nearby were repeating the room too many times there. People nearby came to the room. Complained I'm going to give you a good word here. People nearby complained to the ruckus to a leader of our dorms. But let's put a semicolon here. Let's put a cause-effect transition word. Consequently, we had to pay $1,000 for the disturbance. And then we'll say something like, in addition, not only, you want to put did I, you're using that adverb not only. When you use it in the beginning of the sentence, you need to use a subject-verb inversion there. So in addition, not only did I have to pay the fine, I had to move, you want to put here, to another place because he did the same action several times. Through my experience, I would prefer to have a roommate who is not easy to excite, but quiet. Okay, I think we're good there. Okay, so we made some changes in here. As you can see, it's mostly language use issues that you have to be careful about. And the other thing that I want to encourage you on is your actual sentence length. You need a better sentence length. You need longer sentences there. That's one of the things that's going to help you to improve your writing. Let's take a look at, let me just look at something here quickly. Even with my corrections here, if we, okay, let's spell check the document just quickly. Okay, hold on a minute here. Let me see how many words we have now. So we're now at 520, so I added a little bit more in there in the introduction and in some of those paragraphs to clarify your ideas a little bit more. Let me look more at the okay, so let's look at your conclusion here. So we have, in conclusion, for the reasons mentioned above, cleanliness, usually say cleanliness and quietness are important factors for roommates who live with students. You could even develop that a little bit more, but because it's already so developed, I think in these two body paragraphs, we don't have to worry about that. Okay, so after the spell check, let's take a look here at some things. So we have 5 paragraphs, we have 23 sentences, sentences per paragraph 4.6, words per sentence 23, and that's because I created some longer sentences in there, but had I not done that, you would have had probably somewhere between 15 to 18 words per sentence, and that would not have been appropriate. But we do have it. The grade level here is 11.4, which means it's almost a college level essay, almost. So let's read over the essay one more time. And then I'm going to give you an idea of some things that you can study at my website or somewhere else to improve your writing. So this is the most important part of this. So let's look again, first paragraph. Universities have great effects on one's future, especially for young students. Also, in any period, students are considerably affected by their friends, so they should surround themselves with people who will positively affect them, thereby helping these university attendees maximize their educational experience. Friends who are kind, energetic, and peaceful, for example, will have positive effects on others. The characteristic of roommates whom students live with in dormitories or apartments is one of the most important factors for university success. Let me look at something. Let's say something like hence, cause effect here. The characteristic of roommates whom students live with in dormitories or apartments is one of the most important factors for university success. In my opinion, for students, a sense of cleanliness and quietness are important qualities of a good roommate. Students with these two qualities will make it easy for others to live with them. First of all, an important attribute of a good roommate is cleanliness, which enables students to focus on their studies. To keep the room clean, a sense of cleanliness is an important factor for a roommate. To illustrate, when I was a freshman We can probably just say university freshman. Get rid of all that. I lived with a roommate, Hiroshi, who was in I want to put the same English class. He always preferred a clean room because his parents were both teachers in a high school, and his parents had wanted him to keep his room clean since he was a child. As a roommate, he sometimes brought his friends to our room to have a party for our English, how about classes, unofficial event. And some of the members left their plates, utensils, and napkins on the coffee table and floor, hence leaving our living space in disarray. However, after the event, even though the event was finished in the middle of the night, he soon cleaned the room the next morning. Not having been distracted by any inconsiderate messes in our common living spaces, I was able to focus on my studies all the time, and therefore I always got high grades. Second of all, quietness is also one of the important elements for university students, inasmuch as loud roommates may disturb students' study circumstances, and they may even disturb people living nearby in other rooms. For instance, when I was in my senior year as a university student, my roommate Takeshi, who had joined the baseball, I wouldn't say club, I'm going to say the baseball team, was truly a loud person. One day after we started to watch a baseball game, and after we enjoyed the game for a while, the game was getting interesting because it was evenly matched. In fact, the score changed several times over 4 innings. As a result, Takeshi started to shout with his loud voice in an effort to encourage his team toward victory. Since he was so excited and since his voice was tremendously huge, people nearby complained of the raucous to a leader of our dorms. Consequently, we had to pay $1,000 for the disturbance. In addition, not only did I have to pay the fine, I had to move. No, I forgot to put this in. Not only, but also. But I also had to move to another place because he did the same action several times. Through my experience, I would prefer a roommate who is not easy to excite, but quiet. In conclusion, for the reasons mentioned above, cleanliness and quietness are important factors for roommates who live with students. And there we go. So that's kind of what my edited version looks like. The question now is, based on your writing score, you want to get 30 points out of 30, and I really believe you can do this with some changes. So at my website, here are some things I want you to do over the next month or so. Now remember, it's going to take some time for you to do all these things, so be patient. I think vocabulary, you remember the word ruckus or use the word seesaw, but you didn't fully elaborate on those ideas, so you're a little bit weak with your vocabulary. So I recommend vocabulary lesson number 4, lesson number 5, lesson number 6. You want to make an effort to learn the words in those lessons. Okay, let's go to the grammar part of my course. Okay, the main thing is you tend to be a little bit basic in your sentence structure, so some of the lessons I'm going to recommend will help you to create more advanced type sentence styles. Lesson number 3, sentences with participial phrases. Lesson 4, sentences with appositives. You can probably do a little bit better with that. Compound, I think you're okay here. Sentences with adjective clauses, lesson 6. How about noun clauses, adverb clauses, multiple clauses, lessons 7, 8, and 9. Take a look at those lessons. You had a little bit of trouble with your subject verb inversion, so take a look at grammar lesson number 11, I think is important. Also, lesson 14, parallel structure. I think count and non-count nouns, lesson 16. Lesson 17, I think with verb tenses, especially the past perfect, is hard for you. So you might want to take a look at lesson 17.2, looking at the past perfect verb tense there. Okay, what else? I think lesson 20, articles. Lesson 21, prepositions. You had at least 2 problems with subject-verb agreement, so lesson 22, take a look at that lesson in the grammar part of my course. And what else? I think lesson 25, comma splices, run-on sentences and fragments. Lesson 26, sentence variety, I think is important for you. Another one is being more concise, lesson 27. And then, let me look at it here. Semicolon, exclamation point. No, I think you're okay there. No, you can probably improve where it says when to use commas, lesson 28. I think that's a good lesson for you. Okay, that's it. So those are some specific lessons in the grammar course I'd like you to take a look at, or the grammar section of my course, to help you improve your writing. Okay, let's go to the writing part of my course. You have a good sense of structure, so there's not a lot I'm going to recommend here. Let me look. Transition words, I think you can do better. So lesson number 8, how to make your writing more coherent. I think you can do better with the transition words. So take a look at that. And there's one more lesson. If you go over to my Better TOEFL Scores blog, I'm going to show you one more lesson I want you to take a look at. Yeah, I want you to take a look at TOEFL connecting word quizzes. If you see that on the right there, so you click on that. And this is going to give you some practice with different kinds of transition words, including prepositions. You'll get practice with coordinators. I think it's going to be good practice for you right now. Also, subordinators. Take a look at that lesson. And the last one is transition words. So I want you to take a look at that lesson. There might be one more here on my blog I want you to take a look at. Where is it? This one, TOEFL transition words. It's an article I published on June 12th. This will give you some different kinds of sentences that you can use that can help you to improve your connection of your ideas. So take a look at that one also. All right, I think that's it. So thank you for doing this writing practice test. I hope that you have some good ideas on what you need to do in order to take what you wrote here. You can see here, I scored you at 3.75 out of 5. And if you make the changes that I made here, I'm pretty comfortable that this essay would score 5.5 out of 5 or 30 points out of 30. All right, thank you.